My name is Alisha Meneely, and first and foremost, I am a past commissioner on the Michigan Women's Commission. Currently, I serve two different roles. I work for the Michigan Child Protection Registry, which is under the Secretary of State's office here in the state of Michigan. And I also work for the Human Trafficking Coalition here in Kent County. In regards to the registry, just so that people out there know about it, it's very important. It's a very important registry for parents and schools to know. It is where you as a parent or a guardian would go into this registry online, and you would register you and your child's cell phone number, email address, Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter accounts. And once those are registered, you will stop receiving anything a minor shouldn't be receiving in the first place. So anything from tobacco, alcohol, pornography, vaping, online gambling, any illegal drugs like marijuana here in the state of Michigan, you will stop receiving any advertisements from any of those type of companies. So I please suggest that you register you and your child's information so that you stop receiving these types of ads. For my other role on the Human Trafficking Coalition, I work with the coalition on building awareness in Kent County around the subject of human trafficking, which is something that is very, very near and dear to my heart. We also work very hard at getting everybody to the table to help a victim. So what that means is we work with the medical community, the prosecutor's office, law enforcement, social service providers, shelters, anyone or any organization that can have a wraparound service around that victim, we like to bring to the table so that none of the victims that we are able to save or find slip through the cracks. That is a very tough question. I'm glad that I was asked this question via email first, because this is something I definitely needed to think about, because it's a very deep question and I think it could be a very long answer. But the part of being an authentic leader that is most important to me is the relationship between the leader and the employee. I don't like using the word boss. I feel like the best way to explain what an authentic leader is it's the exact opposite of what we've grown up with. It's not that boss, employee, different, levels. You're not looking down, the leader isn't looking down on their employees. They're all on the same scale. We're all on the same team. And to me, being an authentic leader is being honest about things that you're good at and things that you're not. Because not a lot of people realize that a CEO of a huge corporation isn't, even though they are very intelligent and have worked their way up and have worked very hard, they still don't know it all. And so the best thing an authentic leader can do is build a team that works with her or him, and that fills in those gaps where she might not be as strong, and she knows that, and she's okay saying that. So I think building a team, listening to your team, asking them for advice, because even though they have not experienced everything you've experienced yet and aren't in your position, I completely believe that you can still learn from others at the table that haven't made it to that C-suite yet. And so I think as an authentic leader, you really need to take into account everybody's opinions and thoughts. And even though you might not agree with them or may not think that it's time for that idea yet, you're honest with those people at the table. So the whole teamwork thing with me with authentic leadership is huge. Also, I believe as a woman, as an authentic leader, if you are put into the position where you could be a mentor, I think that's huge. It's like being asked that question during an interview process. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And the person across the desk from you says, I want to sit in your job. I want to sit in your chair. I want your job. And instead of taking that as, scaring you a little bit, like somebody wants to take your job, you actually take that as a compliment, and you are ready to back that person and be that mentor. And if that person really wants to do what you do, then you know that, and you help them take those steps to get there. I think mentorships within jobs, especially high CEO, those C-suite jobs. I think it's very, very important if that is what you are asked. My biggest piece of advice, if you would like to get into advocacy, which is what I mainly do, is to first make sure that whatever you're advocating for, you are wholeheartedly in. It is an issue that you are willing to work and think about and talk about 7 days a week. But most importantly, when you do advocacy work, you probably will end up somehow working at or with a nonprofit. And the nonprofit world is so much different than the business and for-profit world. So what I would recommend, no matter what issue you truly want to be involved in, I would make sure that you always do an internship of some kind first within that nonprofit or organization, just to make sure that you can handle it, especially if it is something like human trafficking or domestic violence, or a very tough issue to talk about that's not talked about at the everyday dinner table. Make sure that that's something that you can handle and are comfortable talking about and are willing to do whatever it takes to make change. Also, because you'll probably be also working at a nonprofit, is to somehow, you need to learn how to fundraise. This is something I always tell people, that is something you're not going to learn in college. There are so many fundraising trainings online. Some are free, some are ones that you have to purchase, but I highly recommend taking a couple of those, because when you are an advocate for something, you are always raising money. You are always raising money for that issue. And it doesn't matter what position you're at. In a nonprofit, it's usually all hands on deck when it comes to fundraising for an issue. So definitely make sure that you have some kind of training in regards to fundraising. I think that's very important. One of the number one things that I think would help, especially women during and after this pandemic, is affordable childcare. I have 2 children, and both of them were in daycare at the same time for a couple of years, and it was more than our mortgage. And I was lucky enough to be living in a 2-income household. I cannot imagine being a single parent and trying to work in order to pay bills. But in order to do that, if you have young children, you need childcare. And I think it's absolutely unacceptable in today's world that parents cannot afford childcare.